What if I told you that most probiotics don't have strong clinical evidence backing them up? Or worse, what if I told you that most probiotics are dead before you even open the bottle? Before we get into it, a disclaimer. In my day job, I do work for a company that sells a medical food probiotic. So for the purposes of this video, I won't be recommending or disparaging any individual products, and instead I'll be talking about probiotics as a whole. In case you aren't familiar with the concept, probiotics are live microbes. They're usually bacteria, but sometimes they're yeasts that are administered to give a health benefit in appropriate amounts. Many people take probiotics, but in my view, we don't stop often enough to think about what's in them or what are the real benefits of those products. To understand better the products that are available for people who want to buy probiotics, I put together information on 11 different products that are sold at common retailers like Amazon or Costco. And what I found is that while there were striking differences between these different products, not a lot of information was really provided to help a customer distinguish one from the other and understand what the right product for them would be. These 11 products were very different in terms of which probiotic species were in them, as well as how many different probiotic species were in each one of them. Among these 11 products that I looked at, 4 contained a single probiotic species, half had 5 or more species, and 1 actually had 14 different probiotic species in it, representing 16 different probiotic strains. Some of these products are very similar, containing multiple species of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains. Others were very unique. For example, one product contained a single yeast species of probiotic, and another contained 5 different species of bacillus spores. In addition to which species were present in the products, the concentration of probiotics that were being offered differed tremendously amongst these. The product with the highest concentration had 1,000 times as many probiotics in it as the one with the least. So with all of these differences in mind, how is an average person supposed to decide which probiotic is right for them, if any? This is made even more complicated by the fact that regardless of which species were in the individual products or how concentrated they were, 10 of the 11 products that I reviewed made nearly identical product claims on their packaging and on their websites. Most of the products made claims like, "This helps protect against GI discomfort," "This supports a healthy gut," or "This product promotes immune health." Every product that I looked at claimed to be backed by research of some kind. But when I dug into this more deeply, only one of the 11 products' websites actually linked to a clinical study where that product, that formulation that you were buying, was being tested in a clinical study. For all of the other products, the research being cited was either laboratory evidence that didn't involve clinical trials in humans, or it was clinical studies that pertained only to a subset of the ingredients that were in the product and not the entire probiotic formulation. To be completely clear, this does not mean that the products without direct clinical evidence don't have benefits. They might. But from the perspective of a customer, these products are wildly different in terms of what is in them, but they make almost identical claims to one another. In my view, that makes it next to impossible for an average person to make an educated decision about how to spend their money and what, if anything, they should put into their bodies. So let's say you choose to buy one of these probiotics. What is it that you're actually getting? A study from 2021 examined 11 commercially available probiotics and found that of those 11, only 2 contained the level of live probiotics in the capsules that was claimed on the box. In some cases, the concentration of individual probiotic strains was up to 99% lower than what was claimed on the label. A more recent study from 2023 did something similar and looked at 21 different commercial probiotics. Now, these authors found something different and found that only one of the 21 probiotic products had concentrations of live cells that were lower than what was indicated on the label. That one, again, had 99% lower concentration than what was indicated on the box. Apart from that, these authors did find that 2 of the probiotics products were either missing strains that were claimed on the label or had extra strains that were not claimed on the label. The references for these studies will be down in the description, but I think these findings really should make people more skeptical about what they're buying when they're looking at probiotics. Both of these studies found that some of the probiotics they looked at contained way less live cells than were claimed on the label. But why? Why are all the probiotics dead? To answer the question of why all these probiotics are dead, it's important to understand how they are made in the first place. Most probiotics are single-celled organisms that reproduce asexually. What that means is that one parent cell will divide into 2 identical daughter cells, and those 2 will identify into 4 identical daughter cells, and so on and so forth. Just like human cells, these microbes need energy and nutrients to be able to grow and divide. The way probiotics are made is to take a small number of starter cells of the probiotic and to put them into a large tank that's full of nutrients, like sugar, the building blocks of protein, and oxygen. You can then warm up the tank and let the cells divide as many times as they can until that tank contains a liquid that's just packed full of the probiotic cells. After that point, there are 2 major problems to solve. Number 1, how do you keep the probiotics alive until a person takes them? And number 2, how do we present those probiotics in a format that customers are comfortable with and used to? Now, keeping probiotics alive really isn't that difficult if you can keep them frozen. But that's not very practical if you're trying to sell the probiotics at a store or have people store them in their medicine cabinet at home. Instead, most probiotics are freeze-dried. This is a process that carefully controls temperature and pressure to freeze the cells and simultaneously remove as much moisture as possible to produce a powder of the probiotic cells that can be ground up and put into capsules that people can take in their homes. Sounds like a good solution, right? Well, there's a catch. And that is that freeze-drying the cells usually kills a huge fraction of the probiotic cells straight off the bat. Plus, more of the probiotic cells will die over time if the powder isn't kept cold and very dry. So, over time on the store shelf or in your medicine cabinet, that powder can pick up moisture from the air, which will cause more of the probiotics to die over time. Most probiotics manufacturers account for this by loading up the capsules with many more probiotic cells than they put on the label. So, by the time you buy that probiotic, the concentration of live cells will be closer to what was intended because of the die-off. Now, this isn't a very exact science. The amount of live probiotics in the capsules you buy from the pharmacy are impacted by how old the batch is, how have those capsules been stored, and at the end of the day, it means that the concentration on the label, for most probiotics anyway, is more of an estimate than a precise guarantee. Of the probiotics that I researched, over half had at least 5 different probiotic species in them, and one had as many as 14 different species. I call this the kitchen sink approach of combining many different probiotic strains together to claim the benefits of all of them in a single product. But the idea that more is better has a major flaw. Once inside the body, probiotics can interact with one another in ways that are either positive or negative. They can help each other or they can hurt each other. A recent study from researchers at MIT and Harvard tested over 180,000 interactions between pairs of bacterial strains across a number of different conditions. The study found that 38% of the interactions between these potential probiotics were either neutral or positive, meaning that one or both of the species got a benefit from it. However, the other 62% of interactions negatively impacted one or both of the strains. What this means is that when 2 probiotic strains are put together in a capsule and released into the body, they can either work together and help one another, or they can actively work against one another inside the body. If probiotic combinations are designed without that in mind and just add more and more together, the chance of having those negative interactions between 2 strains in the same product becomes increasingly high for every one that you add in. So a combination with 10 or more species of probiotics in it almost certainly includes at least one negative interaction between the ingredients. This is important to consider for how the mixture works in the body, particularly when the claims that are being made are backed up by research studies done on just a subset of the strains that are included in the mixture. The world of probiotic supplements kind of feels like the Wild West. There's a dizzying number of probiotics products available to purchase that differ wildly in terms of what strains they have and how concentrated they are. Beyond that, recent studies suggest that off-the-shelf probiotics may be full of dead microbes, or even have strains in them that aren't on the label. Yet, these products make claims that are virtually indistinguishable from one another, and very few of them are backed by robust clinical evidence done on the actual formulation that's being sold. So if probiotics are so good for us, what is a customer supposed to do with this information? Ultimately, my advice is to dig deeper. Talk to your doctor and try to understand the science behind a probiotic before you spend your hard-earned money, and definitely before you put something into your body. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for your time and attention. All the references to the articles that I've mentioned in this video are linked in the description below, and I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to like and subscribe. That helps me out tremendously. Please also share this with others who might be interested in probiotics or who are taking them. Thanks again. I hope you have a wonderful day.